going in without knowing anything because I didn't know anything about the military. And I decided to tell Mum. I said, Mum, I'm joining the military. And I could remember this very, very clearly. She asked me, do you know what kind of environment the military is?
Right.
If you still think of me as your mother, you will not join the military.
Wow. But excellent, we'll get started, Peter. We're back with another episode of House of Reason. I really appreciate you being here again, Peter. Again, but we have a guest. It's a little bit different today. We've got Gia with us, Gia Vuu with us today. Gia, welcome, mate. Thanks for coming and taking the time to come in and have a chat. We appreciate you being here.
Yeah, no, thank you, Charbel, for inviting me here today. Nice meeting you, Peter.
Yeah, likewise.
And also your son.
Yeah,
it's incredible set. You know, I'll have some questions for that.
No worries, it's all good.
But yeah, absolute pleasure to be here today.
No, it's all good, man. I'm happy for you to be here, and I want to discuss a few things today, and you understand why. Like, we had a shared experience with Corporate Fighter, and then and I want to discuss that and your time in the military. That was once you mentioned that to me, you were in the military, I was really intrigued with your story because coming from an Asian
Background.
background in the Australian military. I thought that was quite interesting, but before then, we first met, Pete, me and Gia, we first met at Corporate Fighter, and Corporate Fighter, it's a charity amateur boxing match that you have, and you train for 10 weeks, and then you end up at an amateur boxing match, like a full on, when we first rocked up there when we first rocked up and everyone was meeting each other. What were your first initial thoughts? I know what my first initial thoughts. I was eyeing everybody out and sort of sizing everybody up. What was your initial thoughts? Were you taken back by that? Or
to be honest, I was.
Right.
My first thought was, wow, I'm like one of the few guys who are not tattooed. There were so many tattoo guys, and I was like, wow, I think this is the real deal.
Right.
I was like, wow, like what have I just signed up for?
Right.
No, I wasn't expecting any of like the.
Have you had any boxing experience prior?
Not sparring wise. I've had knowledge.
Yeah.
Like, I hit the bag, but bags don't hit back.
So you just jumped into it.
That's
crazy.
Once in my life, I wanted that experience of stepping to the ring.
Same.
I like to say stepping out of my comfort zone and into the ring.
Yeah.
And wow, the first night or day, stepping in, and all these fellas were standing. And I was like, wow.
Yeah, sure. And how was the training when you first started training? I remember, I just remember him just being a nice guy, and I thought, we sort of clicked. Hey, how you going? Just a nice guy.
Just stood out.
Just stood out as a nice guy. I'm quiet, nice guy. And I thought, he's pretty cool. But what about the training? How was the experience overall with the training? I know you love the training. I know we were there regularly. How was that for you?
Yeah. I feel like the training met my expectations.
Yeah.
Especially the sparring.
Yeah.
I follow the training program, a week 4 or 5 we'll be sparring.
Yeah.
And that was when I was the most excited for. And
what, the sparring?
Yeah.
Same.
The sparring. So did not disappoint. All of the guys gave their all. Even though those who had zero experience.
Yeah.
They gave it their all. So I was very impressed. I was very proud. I was very happy that we all came together.
And just gave it a go.
Yeah, just gave it a go.
It was a shared experience. Like, when you share an experience like that, there's a bond that gets created. Just that little, we've shared an experience together, and there's a bond, and I can't deny that there's, a little bond, and you form friendships and things like that. But, so the training was good. I know there's sparring. I know this guy is fit as you can go for days.
Fit.
Yeah, he can go for days, and
mate, sorry, but on that note, like I was supposed to be there, right?
Okay.
But I was away in the country, right? So whatever reception I can get out there, I was trying to get just so I can watch you guys. And the one thing I remember was, who's this guy with the moves coming out?
Yeah, let's talk about the night.
Can you replicate that? Or, or is that a one-off?
No. A bit of my background, I'll get to there.
Yeah.
I was also, I performed back when I was in 9th grade.
All right.
Yeah, on stage as
This
well.
guy's like an
Oh,
onion.
right.
You know how many layers this guy's got?
So
what do you mean you perform? With what?
Keep peeling back.
like contemporary hip hop.
Right.
Back in 9th grade, it's a show called Rocket Stefford.
Yeah, right.
But I think the video's gone now on YouTube.
Yeah.
It used to be on YouTube.
We've got to pull that back, man.
And then once again, during 11th grade.
Yeah.
So I think those moves
Those
stay
moves-
with
They
me.
came out on the
Surfaced
night.
on the night.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. So let's go to the night. We headed to a night. We headed to the night. It was the fight night. How was that experience for you? And let's just call it what it is right now. Is the camera on me, Brandon? Sometimes there's winners and sometimes there's winners. And both of us we won that night, which was great, and we got that trophy. And how was that fight for you? How was the night for you? When we first arrived there,
Yeah.
how was that? What was your feelings when you first arrived there?
So in the morning,
Yeah,
at about let's say 9 to 11,
yeah,
I felt fine.
yeah,
I'm ready. I was ready. I was good.
yeah,
Came 12.
yeah,
It hits me like a truck.
yeah.
Going, wow, I'm going in. It's the Friday.
It's daunting, yeah.
So were you super nervous, were you?
That all of that nerve just sort of rushed
Oh,
in,
no.
right? I thought it's the Friday. It's the fight night, and from 12 to let's say 4, I had second thoughts. Like when I was driving to the place, I was like, okay, what if my opponent got sick? What if I got sick? Let's hope the show somehow got cancelled.
I get it.
Let's hope my car broke down and it's going to take a while to recover it. All of those little tiny voices in my head, telling me that, is it really what I want to do? They're sort of popping up once in a while. But I kept driving, to the
good on
place.
you.
And seeing the ring, seeing that ring, that tall ring.
Yeah, yeah.
It was a tall ring.
Yeah.
And
I'm getting nervous just listening to it.
Yeah. I get what he's saying, because
it
I had
was-
some nerves as well.
It was definitely the type of nerve that you can only experience when you're physically there.
Yeah,
No
I
amount
getcha.
of cameras or secondhand storytelling is going to give you that.
Yeah.
And come the fight, or come the name, like the order.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like, okay, bout 1, name. Okay, I'm not there. Bout 2, I'm not there. Bout 5, I'm not there.
Did they forget me?
Yeah, I was like, please don't be like the last bout. And well, I was bout 9 out of 12.
Where?
Yeah.
I was 10.
Yeah, you were after me.
All right, yeah.
And I didn't know what to feel about it. I was like, okay, so I'm a bit late into the night. Would I be fatigued then? Would I be tired then? So many questions.
You're overthinking
One
it.
second. On the way there, were the nerves saying, I hope my car breaks down? Was it because you were scared of having a fight, or were you scared of your performance, or were you scared of, people are going to be watching me, I don't want to look like a fool? What was the actual nerves?
A bit of everything.
Yeah, right. I got you.
Especially the pressure
Yeah.
of knowing that there will be, people watching.
Yeah.
Like those you don't know.
Yeah.
The people that you know will be watching,
Yeah.
that you invited.
That'd be the worst.
Yeah, yeah,
The
yeah.
people that your opponent
Yeah.
will be watching.
Yep.
And your own expectation.
Yeah, right.
Depending on who you are, you would have a certain amount of expectations on yourself,
Yeah.
and all of those,
Absolutely.
piled up.
I got out there and I was like, no, before I got out there, I was like, can I actually like throw a punch? Like my mind was playing games with me. I don't know if do I have to actually throw a punch? Like it was playing games with me. It wasn't until the trainer went out of the ring. I was still in zombie mode. Like I was not even there. And then he's like, ding. As we walked closer to each other, I just felt like, okay, we're going to fight. That's the only time that I geared in. Other than that, I was just in La La Land. It was a surreal feeling. It was my first time as well, just like,
Oh yeah.
just like you. But it's good. You got the win. This guy was so nervous. He was in his head. I remember I had a chat with you earlier on.
Yeah.
I said, remember this. He can spar and he can fight, and he's always discussing techniques, and he wants to get things right. And he's, and mixed with him just being a nice guy, doesn't want to upset anybody.
Yeah, sure.
I just felt that from him. I said to him, come here. you need to give yourself permission to have a fight.
Wow.
You're not upset. You're not angry at the guy. You're just trying to compete. So get into that mindset. It's not a sparring match, you know. I just tried to, get his mind into it's okay
And did
to
that
have a
work
fight.
for you when you got that advice? Did that help? Did it help you in the ring?
It worked in the second round. So we had 3 rounds.
Yeah.
I felt like the first round, I was still overwhelmed by the nerve.
Yeah.
And because usually when you started the fight or sparring or whatever, it's very difficult for you to pinpoint what the pace of the fight's going to be like.
Yeah.
So it wasn't until you received the first punch is when you go, okay, this is how the fight's going to go.
Yeah, sure.
And then you can sort of retaliate the same amount of force
Yeah,
to your opponent. Yeah.
I love it. Anyway, I think you got the win, and I know because once your opponent came out, he's just breathing heavy. He just couldn't he didn't get the win, and he just your
Just
fitness.
too fit, yeah.
Yeah, he's too fit. He's just non-stop, and he's still there. Is your fitness really, I think, pulls you through? And obviously, you got some boxing skills for sure, but your fitness really just continued you going, because I keep telling people it's an endurance chess match.
Yep.
An endurance chess match, and you gotta have throttle control over your energy. Like when you're gonna exert yourself, when you're gonna pull back. So glad I did it. I thought, like, at 40, how old are you?
I'm 27 now.
27, yeah. Like at 43 or whatever, nearly 44, I thought it's past me, and just glad I got to share the experience. Here's a question: would you ever do it again?
I'll do it again.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Well,
are you planning to do it again?
I'm planning to do it again. Whether or not it's corporate fighter, I'm not sure. But a second fight would definitely be on my mind.
Amateur
boxing, yes.
Right. Have you looked at anything, or just something that you would consider?
I'm currently, because initially my plan was to go back to PCYC,
Yeah.
Cabramatta.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, the place hasn't have boxing
Right.
for a while. So I'll be looking into, perhaps a different PCYC.
Yeah.
Or just a boxing gym in general.
Yeah.
And then, ease my way back there and see how we go from there.
Cool. Where so you met PCYC at Cabramatta? Where did you grow up? Whereabouts did you grow up?
So
What school did you go to as well?
Cabramatta High School.
Oh, right, there
the
you
one
go.
and only.
Yeah, the Cabramatta. So what's your background? What is it? I know you got Vietnamese in there somewhere.
Yeah, so I was born and raised in Vietnam.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
You were. And so when did you come across here?
So 2008.
Get away.
I was 13.
Could you speak English whilst you were in Vietnam, or
Yeah, so
did you learn English in the schools?
Yeah, so the primary schools.
You speak quite well.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that's a compliment. The primary school and because I spent my primary school there learning Cambridge English. That was American English. And then 6th and 7th grade because in Vietnam you start middle school in 6th grade.
Okay.
6th and 7th grade, there was also English lessons there. So it was a part of our curriculum.
English,
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so how old were you when you came across here in 2008?
I was 13.
Right.
I was 13.
Gotcha.
And then I went to Capra High School, but for everyone who came from overseas.
So from Vietnam straight to Vietnam, is it Cabramatta got a lot of Vietnamese? That's what I remember. Yeah.
Yeah, that's another interesting tidbit that I'll get to in a second. But in Cabramatta High School, I think in most high school, they would have what is called an intensive English centre for those who just came from overseas, who may not have any English skills at all. I had to went through a year of that just to sort of catch up with the Australian English.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the rest is history.
Mate, you've done well.
Hey,
You've
thank
done
you.
really well. I
Really
wouldn't
good.
have picked it.
Yeah. And so who came across? Mum, Dad? Have you got any siblings?
Only child.
Only child. Wow,
Yeah,
look
so,
at you.
My dad's family is in Australia,
Right.
and I came with my mum.
Right.
My mum's family is back in Vietnam
Right.
with my dad.
Gotcha.
Right, so we had a bit of a trade there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Interesting. And so how was it when you first came in? When you first came into the schooling system, or how did you find it hard fitting in socially, or?
That's a great question. To be honest, looking back, it felt very natural. It felt like maybe because I was too young to fully comprehend the difference in cultures and lifestyle.
Right.
And it felt it felt natural. It felt very natural.
So you had no problems in
Excellent.
adapting.
Yeah, I felt like if I was to arrive in Australia now, I definitely would have issues and I would struggle.
What's the difference between now and then? Oh,
Mm.
at this age, you mean?
At this age,
Oh,
yeah.
I got
at
you,
this
of
age,
course.
yeah.
Of
At
course.
27, I would definitely struggle.
Because you're a little sort of set. Once you get older, every time you get older, you get more set in your ways. You're a little bit more malleable when you're younger.
Yeah. Like
Right.
when I was 13, I felt like a sponge. I could absorb a
Yeah,
lot of
right.
what's coming in.
Right.
Yeah.
The pressures of life isn't there when you're 13.
That's
Yeah.
true.
You know what I mean?
That's
So
true.
it's easy to connect.
Yeah. And friends, was there a lot of people like Vietnamese that was there? So was that easy to connect with like that?
Yeah. Cabramatta High School was predominantly Asians.
Yeah.
So Vietnamese, Chinese, Cambodians, and surprisingly very few like Aussies, like very few,
Yeah.
you know, Anglo-Saxon
Yeah.
Aussies. Yeah.
It's just
So
that-
it was
just
it was easier for me to. I felt like it was easier for me to adapt and
Right.
blend in.
Mm.
You know, it wasn't until I dare say 2015 was when I had a lot more exposures to people that is not within my own
right.
ethnicities.
What was 2015? What was that? What was the experience there?
So after high school,
Mm.
I went to UTS.
Yep.
Initially, it was I wanted to become a biologist
Right.
because I was very good at biology. And then I felt like at the time.
What
like-
about a mathematician?
well, I feel like all Asian parents would secretly
Yeah.
wants their kid to be something like that.
Yeah. Right.
You know, lawyer, doctor.
And they got to play the piano. Like,
Yeah.
can you do either of them too? Are you good at maths? And can you play the piano?
So I think I've broke about 3 different like Asian
yeah.
rules.
Family rules.
So not good at maths.
Yeah.
That's because my father was very good at maths.
Right.
Right. So that's disgrace number 1.
Yeah. Right.
Disgrace number 1.
Um,
What's 2?
2 was I did not want to become a doctor, lawyer,
Right.
or any traditional
Would-
Asian rules.
Were they pushing you for that?
I don't know.
Okay.
I wouldn't dare ask.
Okay.
Right? I
So
wouldn't
that
dare
was no.
ask.
The answer's
Yeah.
no.
I think they'll be like disowning,
Yeah. Right.
disgrace.
Yeah.
3 was I drive. Right. Usually when you say Asians can't drive,
Yeah.
I drive everywhere. Right. So that's disgrace number 3.
Hey, it's coming from his mouth, not ours.
I'm
Remember
glad it's
that.
coming from you.
And also, the next topic was joining the military.
Yeah.
Because one of the reasons why my parents wanted me to come to Australia was because in Vietnam, you have what is called a mandatory service. You have
Yep,
to serve once you reach 18. And that's why they brought me over at 13.
For that reason?
For that reason.
Wait up.
One of the reasons.
Listen to this. His parents, one of the reasons, brought him across here so he doesn't have to join the military in Vietnam. And what does he do in Australia?
Join the military.
Join the
Joins the
military.
military. Keep going. Tell
I
me about that.
rocked that boat. I
Yeah.
rocked that boat,
Yeah.
like finally.
Yeah.
And
How did they respond? Tell us the details.
so once I told my mum first, I said, Mum, I like to join the military.
Before we get to mum, what brought you to that point to wanting to join the military? Let's go there.
I wasn't
Frankly,
watching Rambo or anything like that, was it?
no, Rambo was what deterred me from joining. Now, well, frankly, initially it was actually an ego thing
Right.
Okay.
because I felt like, wow, join the military, that's a cool job. That's
Gotcha.
that's something that all the boys look at.
It gives purpose.
They have toys of soldiers, right?
Yeah.
They have toys and pictures and movies, and they portray soldiers as war heroes.
Mm.
Initially, I wanted to become a cop
Right.
because I felt like I had a very huge sense of justice. I hate injustices, and being a cop was my initial plan. But looking at into the New South Wales Police Force recruitment processes, it was quite lengthy. And then there was Defence Force.
Mm.
And I thought, that's similar.
How old were
Okay.
you what was the age? What were we talking
I
about?
was
When you were thinking about all this?
I was 19.
Gotcha. Okay.
I was
with you now.
19.
All right.
And I decided to to give it a go. First, out of ego, I thought, wow, this is going to be a great job. But second, how many people could, especially in my area, could say that I'm about to join the military? You know, going in without knowing anything, because I didn't know anything about the military. And I decided to tell Mum. I said, Mum, I'm joining the military. And I could remember this very, very clearly. She asked me, do you know what kind of environment the military is?
Right.
If you still think of me as your mother, you will not join the military.
Wow. That's deep.
Those were the words
Yeah, right.
that she told me.
Wow.
Okay. And what do you think that is? Why was she deterring you from there?
It has to be because, you know, people only know what they know, and all they know about military and soldiers were from their time.
Yeah, right.
Might be because the Vietnam War happened,
War-torn country, Vietnam, yeah, for sure.
which Vietnam had a very big effect during the Vietnam War.
Yeah.
A global impact.
Yeah, and I think also, you know, I don't want to get much into, you know, propagandas and politics here, but the way we were brought up in Vietnam, a lot of it had to do with the military, soldiers, in portraying soldiers in certain ways, right? In a very heroic way.
Yeah.
It's always about sacrifice, always about you know, deaths and so it was very understandable why my mum would be so
Yeah.
Against it.
yeah.
You know, I would be the same thing for my boys. Like naturally, nah, maybe not. You know, if we were like at war and our houses were getting taken and I had left no choice, yeah, I'll absolutely fight. But just, you know, if everything's okay with where I'm living and things like that, it's not for everybody. Some people, you know,
It's a tough pill to swallow for parents at times, you know,
Yeah.
especially those that are cultural, because they come from an environment where they've been war torn, so they've seen the horrors, and they don't want you to go through it. So look, I can understand
Absolutely.
that. I can appreciate, but the next step is how did your dad take it?
Well, I planned to tell my dad once like the process was kind of in
Along
yeah.
further, yeah, than what it was.
But little did I know,
right,
the man has eyes and ears everywhere.
right.
AKA my mother. Like she snitched on me.
yeah, of course you
Yeah,
did.
she.
Did you hear about?
You know
Yeah,
what
yeah,
your
right.
son
Your-
wants to do?
Yeah,
That's right. Your son. It's
Your
your
son.
son.
Yeah, it's your son now.
Yeah, he wanted to join the military.
Yeah, right.
Um,
Did he chat with you? What was the initial conversation you had with him?
well, initially it was the Air Force that I wanted to join.
All right.
Initially it was the Air Force.
I'm telling you, this guy's onion, his layers, man, layers.
And because again, in Vietnam, the Air Force was very
Highly
looked
regarded?
at. Yes.
It was prestige.
Yes.
Okay.
When you hear Air Force, you think pilot,
Right.
Yeah.
right? So I told my dad, it's the Air Force. You know, the Air Force. The ones that, you know, every people froth over. And he went, right, the Air Force. Do you think you have what it takes?
Oh, right. So there was a door opening.
So I was taken aback, actually. I was expecting him to lose it, you know, just like my mum did. But I think something about dads that they understand, especially, you know, with their sons. They it's not like they are against what their sons are doing.
There's a connection.
But there is that understanding that, he's, you know,
Driven.
the boy is looking for a challenge.
I get it.
But what I'm concerned was, does he have what it takes? Is he going to back down? Is he going to panic midway? And I get it. And I get it because I had those thoughts, you know, even prior to making my way in there.
Right.
But our conversation wasn't long. It was a very body language, very, you know, short and sweet words.
Yep.
Basically, he said, it's not for me to stop you. Just do it.
Yeah, right.
Right? Like, you know, there's only so much I can tell you.
Yeah.
You know, there's so much I
The door is
can
open.
do too.
The door is open.
you know, to give you, you know, some thoughts, but
Yeah.
it's your life.
So what was the next step from there? Because we're talking about the Air Force, but from what I can hear now, you were in the army.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So how did you go from here to there?
How long were you in the military for?
So
How long did you serve for?
served-
How do we classify? Like, how do we give us the lingo? Is it how long did you serve in the military?
precisely 3 years and 8 months.
Right.
So I was 4 months away from 4 years.
Yeah.
But that's a different story that I can tell you afterwards, because
Yeah.
I think this is more of a
It's whatever you want it to be, man. It's all
Yeah.
good.
I can't find the words for it.
That's
but,
all right. It's whatever you want it to be. It's all good.
So
Just let it flow.
yeah. So initially, I wanted to join the Air Force.
Yeah.
And in order to apply, you have to go online to defense jobs, not sponsored. You know, not sponsored by defense at all. So you pick the role that you want, the service that you want, and then you have what is called a U session, YOU, a U session. And basically, the U session is all about getting an introduction to what it's like in there. There's one in Parramatta, DFR, Defence Force Recruiting. So
Gia, what do you do? Just online?
it's online, yes.
Gotcha. You
It's
got
online. You can do it like right now.
Yeah.
You pick the role, you go to the U session, DFR, and there will be a uniformed member there, basically telling you what life will be like in the military. Very brief, very brief. Then you have like a short interview with another uniformed member regarding, you know, the role that you'll be applying for. Why would you like that role? Have you experience in that role? And if everything went well, you will have what is called an assessment day.
Gotcha.
They will schedule you in for an assessment day. So that's the first step.
It was just before that, before we get to the assessment day. Going back, when they were explaining to you, when they were discussing, trying to explain what military life would be like, how were they portraying that? Was it a fun thing? You know, things that you're gonna face, things that you're not gonna like. Were they saying this is a good career? How were they portraying the military then?
I think you've covered quite well with those 3 points.
Yeah.
They said that, you know, it's going to be unlike anything you've ever come across.
Yep.
It's going to be challenging,
Yep.
but rewarding.
Yep.
And you may have to
Lose your life? No?
well, not in those words,
Right, I gotcha.
which I find quite ironic.
Maybe
you know.
the words are sacrifice.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So
right.
you know, they said that the military doesn't promise you, you know, luxury. Instead, it guarantees camaraderie, sacrifice, and mateship.
So was it accurate in their assessment?
Very accurate.
When you look back, you can turn around and confidently say that assessment that they gave me is quite accurate.
Very accurate.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's good.
So yeah, continue to take it. So your process.
So initially, I wanted to do what is called an Air Force police.
Yep.
Silly me, 19-year-old Gia picked an Air Force police job in the Air Force, one of the most difficult jobs
Right.
in the Defence Force.
Why is that?
So if you look online, they will have each job will have a description,
Yeah.
a very detailed description of what is required of you. It also detailed, it basically detailed what you do, the training that you go through, the experiences that you might be required to have, and what do you know? The whole list of the experiences that were required to become an Air Force police, which I had none. So came the assessment day.
Yeah.
We had to go through our medical, so medical, psychological assessment, whether you're healthy enough,
Yep.
stable enough to be able to hold a weapon,
Yep.
and not go
Rogue.
go rogue and go blitz. And your life experience. Are you, do you have the life experience or the knowledges to become the role that you initially picked? And unfortunately, I stumbled during that interview. So after the physical and the medical checks is when the interview occurred, and
You feel short.
I fell short.
Yeah, right.
I realized, wow, I might, jumped too far ahead here, because a lot of the questions that was asked, I didn't have the answers to it, simply
Right.
because I didn't have enough life experience.
You're
you
too
just
young.
weren't
You were
ready.
19,
You
things like
wasn't
that.
ready.
Yeah, I wasn't ready. So they decided, come back in 9 months. Come back in 9 months to show us that either you're ready for the role or you're ready to serve in a different role.
Right.
But it's your call. So during that 9 months, I did just that. I worked as a commercial cleaner, but being a commercial cleaner gave me more life experience than the uni years gave me.
Got to get out there. Yeah, sure.
And
So you went back,
I went back.
Yeah.
So 9 months later, I went back.
and with the same role, or you changed roles, or would you apply for the same role?
I applied for a different role.
Right.
So
What was it?
This time it was what is called an ammunition supplier.
Right.
And also on the website, it will also have what is called a priority role. So any roles that they are in urgent need, it will
Right.
show the priority role.
Right. So
And
get
that-
in where you can fit in.
That job,
Let's go.
I jumped in. I
Yeah.
pressed in, applied,
Yeah.
and the same process,
Yep.
happened again. So went to DFR medical, and this time the interview went well. And after the interview, you would get either a recommendation or a non-recommendation.
Right.
I got a recommendation that time, the second time, followed by what is called a fitness assessment day.
Right.
This is where you have to do what is called a PFA, a pre-entry fitness assessment, which I believe most people would ace it if, it's basically, I think it was 20 push-ups, 40 sit-ups, and have you heard of a beep test? I
have, yeah,
A
yeah.
7.5
Yeah. Right.
beep test minimum.
Good.
And you nailed it.
So what was the process between? So you got in, and how long did it take before they said, "Boom, you're in," for you to start your training or?
Yep.
how does
So
it- yeah.
yeah. So the enlistment day is up to your case manager. So
Yeah.
you are assigned a case
Enlistment day, did you
Your
say?
enlistment day.
Yeah. Right. Gotcha.
Yeah. So so after you finished your fitness assessment, that's when they'll give you a letter of offer
Right.
from.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and in there they'll tell you everything you need to know to get ready for, including the day of your enlistment.
So and how long? What was your first day like, or when they enlisted you and you got there? And let me call it what it is. Let's call it what it is. Let's go. Australian military, 12 o'clock, Asian guy. Is there any, 12 o'clock Asian guy, bang, in the Australian military. That is rare. How did you deal with that?
So let me just go on back to the first day,
Yeah.
the enlistment day,
Yeah, right.
because you can ask any defense members about the 2 days that they will never forget.
Right.
Their enlistment day and the day they marched out to become a fully qualified soldier.
How good.
And again, I can only speak from the Army perspective,
Yeah, sure.
but the first day, day zero, they call it day zero. They couldn't even afford to give you a day one.
Yeah, right.
So day zero.
Yeah.
So it was 9 o'clock in the morning, and we went to the same place that we applied for.
Yeah.
We swore an oath.
Yep.
Then we stepped on the bus, and the bus went to. It was a long bus ride.
Where was this? What?
Um,
Can you say what?
sorry.
Can you say, was it in Holsworthy? Like,
Oh, it was at Kapuka.
right.
So
Where's that?
I think it's 2 hours away from Albury.
Right.
Wow. Yeah. Have you heard of Wagga Wagga?
Yeah.
There's
Kapuka
a
is
military
somewhere
base
there.
out there.
Yeah, right. Okay,
Yeah.
it's out there.
And
You
it
jumped
was-
on the bus?
It was a long bus ride.
Yeah, right.
Mate, is it
Because-
like the movies where they shave your head and move on,
Full Metal
boy?
Jacket.
Eh?
Have you seen Full Metal Jacket? It was like that. It
Yeah.
was like that.
Yeah, right.
So we hopped on the bus, and on the way there, we had a lot of talk on, what we would do. It's going to be great. Like I'll nail it. I'll do this. I'll do that. And
So you're saying you had no idea what you were going to do or where they were taking you, or did they give you an indication? Okay, this is the next step in this journey.
all we were told was our enlistment day we're going to Kapuka to begin our training.
Okay.
You know, and
Right.
I've seen some videos on what
Yeah,
Kapuka
sure.
is like, but again, videos that, you know, don't do you justice
Mm.
in giving you the full experience.
Take us there. You get there.
You know,
Yeah.
and no amount of preparation could prepare us for that first day 0. So I spent the entire bus trip thinking what to do,
Yeah.
what would happen.
You just move the mic to you. Yeah.
Yeah.
no, yeah.
Yeah, and you know, and again, it was a long bus trip. I felt tired. I was drowsy, so I fell asleep. I woken up again, still not there. Fell asleep. Woken up about 5 times. It was still not there. The very moment I let my guard down, Kapuka, and that's when I went. That's when we held in our breaths, and the moment the bus slowed down into that single road, we knew
No turning back.
there's no turning back. And we arrived at what is called Blamey Barracks. The base is called Blamey Barracks.
All right.
And we went further into what is called 1st Recruit Training Battalion. And just like how you described with Corporate Fighter,
Yeah.
it was a surreal experience.
Mm.
You know, you're in disbelief. You knew that you signed up for this, but you're still in disbelief that you were in this.
Yeah.
And the bus, you know, slowly, you know, made its way into its stops. And that's when all hell broke loose, because we were told to get off the bus, get our stuff, and I remember very clearly, we went into this hall, and there was 4 uniformed members standing like statues with their faces stone cold.
Right.
And we were told to line up, and that's when we saw them doing, at the time, what I would call like military motions. I didn't know what to call them, but they were doing what soldiers do. They were doing this thing that, you know, you would see Marines do, for example. And
What
we
was
were
that?
like, so they were doing drills. They were doing
Gotcha.
drills, yeah. You know, we were taught drills, but at the time, they were doing the thing that we would see in movies.
Mm.
And I was like, this is real. This is, you know, this is real. Like, I'm
Yeah,
not
right.
dreaming.
Gotcha.
And we were led to our, let's call it the lines. We call it the lines, but it's basically where we stay.
Yeah. Right. Where
And-
will you sleep? Will you stay? Will you crash? Sleep?
Not yet. Not
Okay.
yet. It was about 4 p.m.
But I'm saying the lines is where you
The
sleep.
lines is
at-
where we sleep, yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But 4 o'clock was no time for sleeping
4 o'clock in the afternoon?
in the afternoon. No, we were immediately taught how to march.
Right.
How to march immediately. With that, we still have our civilians' uniforms on, but we were taught how to form up and how to march. Obviously, you know, in the first few minutes, we all march very funnily.
Mm.
You know,
Yeah, right.
yeah, out of step, out of
Yeah.
cadence.
Yeah.
Everything was non-stop.
Were they very abrupt in what they were speaking? Were they very formal? Were they,
Ooh.
Aggressive.
aggressive?
Good question. I love it. I'll tell you what. We could not hear a single word of what they were saying.
Why?
Not because they were quiet,
Not shouting.
because their words were so. How do I say this? Their words were so fused together
Right.
that it almost sounded like just
One big blur?
like growly noises.
Yeah, right.
But that's how the military speak when they're instructing.
Yeah. Was it loud?
It was loud,
Yeah, right.
but it was so. It was almost like. It sounds human, but it wasn't.
You're making me nervous. Wanting anyone to join the military.
Because
They sound like predators.
yeah.
it's just it's kind of like you forgot how to speak English, and all you hear were just words.
You went back to Vietnam.
Yeah, it felt like did I just have like some sort of brain damage? Because and everyone else had the same thing. They were like, what are they saying? Right? Because they were,
I want to hear how they spoke now. This is
precisely.
Like that?
Yes, precisely. But no, you're not wrong.
Yeah, right.
You're not wrong.
All right. I watched too many movies. I don't know.
That's exactly how it sounded like.
Gotcha, yeah.
And you know,
So you learn how to march.
yeah, and we spent about 50% of our brain power
Yeah.
trying to decipher what was being said to us. You know, so
Funny. Go.
so we taught how to march, and
Yeah.
then we marched to the clothing store to get our
Yeah.
PT uniform.
Yep.
Because we initially got our shirts and shorts.
Yep.
And then we marched back. And then we were also taught how to make our beds. We were taught drills. So first things first, we were taught what we call catchwords, and catchwords were basically phrases where the moment we hear it, we know that there's something up. So for example, I was in platoon number 2, but we don't call it platoon number 2. We call it 2 platoon. So numbers first, then the name after.
Right.
So
Was there a reason for that?
that's just how the military
yeah,
functions, right?
yeah.
So we were in, let's say, so a bit of a military structure breakdown.
Yeah.
So what we have, the smallest we call it brick, about 4 people. Then we have a section, which is about 12 people. Then we have a platoon, 30, 50 people. Then we have a company. Then we have a battalion.
Wow.
Then we have a brigade.
Different amount of as the numbers increase.
That's right.
Names change. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So and then we'd have so there's a brigade. Yeah, and then at the end the defence force.
Right.
So I was in section number 4, platoon number 2, company Alpha. But in military speak, it's 4 section, 2 platoon, Alpha company.
That gets
Right.
confusing.
I'm out already.
It was very confusing upon hearing it the first time. 4 section, and we were like, isn't it supposed to be section 4? Like we asked among ourselves, like, is that section 4? Is that us?
Is that us?
And it was like that. Like it was like headless chooks being running around the cage, and we were taught so many things, but at the same time still processing what just happened about an hour ago. Made for a very funny night.
Yeah.
Not of it.
Was this the first night?
It was the first night.
Oh wow.
So just in a nutshell, from what I understand, just tell me, this is what I've always thought about the military. It's the
Yep.
tear down, build up theory.
Yep.
They want to just tear you down to the ground, and they just want to build you up with confidence, with strength, to the point where you can make some tough decisions. Is that how it's like? Or
Very much so. Very much so. That tearing down, building up process
yeah.
happens very gradually. That you don't notice it happening to you, but it happens.
In that process, is there a sifting out process where some guys going, "This is not for me"?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
So
And do you think that's what they want? They want to sift out
correct.
guys that just aren't going to cut it.
Yeah, correct. So they deliberately made it very difficult for us to do things.
Function. Yeah.
Yeah.
How many that
So initially we had 50.
Right.
We came out with 30.
Right. 20 just said this is not for me.
Yeah.
Right.
So most people, because of medical reason or physical reason, they got injured. But more so than that was because of this. They couldn't hack it mentally.
Right.
And I remember the first night when we were told to go to bed. It was 10 o'clock at night, and none of us could sleep because
You're wired.
I was laying there looking into the ceiling, going, "What was that?"
It's surreal. It's just like what that experience that I just experienced. What was that? That's what your thoughts were.
Like I was at Parramatta this morning. I was having a coffee this morning,
Yeah. Right.
Wow.
and now I'm in this bed
Yeah.
with these fellas that I don't know.
Yeah. You gotcha.
And then
How long were you there for? Like
3
how when you for this training? How long is the training? Is it a 3 months training?
it's a 3 months.
So you're away from home now, knowing that you're going to go away here for 3 months.
Correct.
Right. Got it.
Correct. Yep.
Got
And that's the biggest thing that they emphasized on us
What's that?
prior to our enlistment was, you will be away from home
Yeah.
for a very long time.
Yeah.
You know.
That in itself, like I went to America for 15 days and I was homesick, let alone 3 months.
Yeah, and then it wasn't a vacation, and they made it very clear that it wasn't a vacation.
Yeah. Right.
You know, for a 3 months process.
Just a quick question, right? When you look back at your military experience, how has it shaped you? Like from when you went in initially
Yeah.
to when you came out.
Yeah.
I'm just interested with all the training that took place. How has it molded you? How has it shaped you? Is it for better, for worse, in your words?
Definitely for the better.
Yeah.
I feel like the military, you know, if there's one thing that I could get out of the military
Mm.
was discipline.
Sure.
Discipline.
And has it made you more of a leader?
I haven't got a lot of chances to step in the role of a leader. We'll talk about leadership in also
Yeah.
in a few. I like to believe that I can be a leader if needed be, but I haven't had enough experience or
Yeah.
you
But
know,
you've got the qualities.
opportunities.
They've instilled the qualities within you to be able to make those decisions moving forward.
Yep, that's correct. So every soldier is capable of being a leader, and again, it's all about playing into your strengths. That's why they made it very clear that, you know, in order to enlist, you have to possess certain traits, and you have to be. You know, that's why they have the assessment day. They're weeding you out from day one. The moment they see you, they look at your profile. They look at, you know, how you are as a person. They're looking at how you treat other people during your interviews or during your
Examining
training.
everything, eh?
Yeah, you're being assessed 24/7.
Okay. Mate, I only met you probably half an hour ago. I can honestly tell from our conversation, just hearing you speak, that you're quite level-headed. And I can tell that you have those skill sets within you. And I say this with all due respect. I think your age works for you at this stage because you're still young. And I think your whole life's ahead of you. So I think the skill set that you have, just by hearing you speak and just your spirit and your nature, I honestly think that you possess leadership skills. And that's why I just wanted to ask you those questions, just to see how you would respond to it. But yeah, it's definitely there. What do you think, Bob?
Yeah, because I've shared experiences with him. I think he does have those attributes, but he's in his own way all the time. I feel like you're in your own way all the time.
What does that mean?
Like he just doesn't allow. He thinks, I can't. He doesn't. You know, I won't be able to do that. Like, you know, he's always second guessing himself. We can tell when he went to corporate fighter, for example. You were, always second guessing yourself. He has it in there, but I think.
Can I just ask a question on that?
Yeah.
Is it because I could be totally way out of line? I could be wrong. Is it because in the military you're always governed by a set of instructions? You're kind of led.
Right.
Do you have to kind of break that barrier in order just to pursue your goals now and say, mate, you know what? I've got this skill set. Let me just tear down this wall. Let me push forward. Would it be a result of that, you think?
Perfectly asked and perfectly broken down there, Peter.
Okay.
So as soldiers, we're trained from day one, as you've as I've just shared, is to not question your orders.
Yeah.
Meaning you are to place your trust within your commanders, that the decision has been made and you are to execute it. Some degree of decision making will be given to you at the longer you're in there, but most of the time as privates like myself, privates is the rank of the military army, the Australian army, we mostly functioned as the workers, meaning we listen and we follow.
Gotcha.
Very rarely do we have the opportunity to make our own decisions
Right.
without the permission of our leaders.
Right.
So you become wired in that way.
Yeah. And life is about just going, making your own decisions.
Yeah,
of
and
the
unfortunately, with most veterans, you spend however long to go from a civilian to a soldier, but you don't get enough time to go back into a civilian. So,
Is that PTS? Am I reading that?
PTSD?
Yeah. Is that what you're referring to?
No. So what I'm saying is, when you discharge
Yep.
from the military, you have very little time to sort of being trained back
Right.
into a civilian.
Gotcha.
That's tough.
So
Yeah.
most veterans would either find something that that reminds them of that camaraderie, that environment. So most would become coppers.
Yeah, got it.
Most, hopefully not, would become criminal. Hopefully not.
Yeah.
But again, some kind of gangs
Yeah.
that again gives them that camaraderie, gives them
Gotcha.
that hierarchy, gives them
Yeah.
that sort of structure. that civilian life, because that's all they knew.
Yeah. So are you
know.
saying, right, like when you finish your stint in the military, bang, chop, you now just have to transition straight into civilian life, and you're thinking, man, I'm not used to this anymore.
And you're saying that there isn't a transition period, and do you think there should be a transition period?
There is a transition period,
Right.
but it's not long enough, or it's
Right.
not enough for most veterans to confidently say that, okay, I should be good and confident
Yeah.
in stepping out into the civilian world.
How long is that? How long is that period? How long is that assessment? That training period, like
The-
to get back into
The
civilian life?
transition period.
Transition, correct?
Period. If I remember correctly, 2 weeks.
Gotcha.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it takes you 3 months to train
So-
for the military, but only 2 weeks to get back in.
Wow. So here's a question. How have you transitioned? Are you over that now? Do you still have struggles, or you found your feet?
I think I'm still in that transitioning period.
Interesting.
And it's how. Let's just go. And we'll talk about transition period. How long has it been since you've been out?
It's been almost 2 years.
Oh wow, 2 years. So that's
Still fresh.
Still fresh out of the military. So let's just go back a little bit and talk to me about like your first day of service. What do you call it? Did you go out and serve abroad at all?
Okay, so
Yeah.
so-
And what was that like? And where have you served?
yeah. Oh, great question. Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, forgive me if I drag this on too long, because it
I'll keep you in line a little bit.
keep me in line, please.
Yeah.
So, after your basic training,
Yeah.
you would go into what is called an employment training. That's when your job. That's when you get trained in your job that you pick
Yeah.
for. So for me, for example, I'll be trained in ammunition supplying.
Right.
And then I'll move on to, and then so depending on how long your employment training is, it could be like some jobs could have 4 years of training.
Yep.
Especially if you chose a trade like plumbing,
Yep.
carpentry. That's a 4-year employment training
Right.
before you step into your real unit, like your real
Got
military
it.
service.
Got it.
So your first technical day of service would be after you finish your employment training. So when you started, so on your enlistment day, you are a recruit. When you complete your basic training, you move on to your employment training. You are now a trainee. Then when you finish your employment training, you move into your unit. Then you are private. You're not
Gotcha.
a private on your enlistment day. You're a private when you move into your unit.
Got it.
So
Where was the first country you served in abroad?
So the only country that I served in was in the UAE, Dubai.
Right.
7 months deployment.
In Dubai.
Dubai, yes.
Why Dubai?
Why Dubai? Look, again, this is one of those things where,
Is it just friendly relationship things, or
so
Yeah.
this is where I can say that, I don't know, because a lot of what we see as privates are very surface level thing.
Right.
We're only told this is what you do,
Yeah.
do it.
They're the working bees.
Yeah. We cannot ask questions because, again, most of those things are need to know. Meaning, even if you possess the security clearance for it, if you are not involved, or if you're not a need to know,
Everything's private.
then you're not to know it. You are not to put your in it. You are not to ask questions about it.
Yep.
You just do it.
So what did you do in Dubai?
So I was assigned as a pharmacy storeman.
A pharmacy store.
Meaning-
What is that?
So a pharmacy storeman means I take care of all of the medical products.
I thought you did ammunition. So you go from one thing to another. It's very
So-
diverse.
That's again kind of like how you described me just then. The military has layers.
Okay.
It's kind of like watching a final episode of a TV series in season 10 and then watching season 1, episode 1. That gap in between is the most important bit. You would have understand, why season 10 was the way it was if it wasn't for the previous 9 seasons.
Okay, I get you.
And that's why I said in the beginning, it's going to drag on because I have to place these out in order for it to make sense.
Yeah. Right.
So in the military, you could be, let's say, an ammo supplier, but during your deployment, you could be doing something entirely different,
Got it.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
right?
We'll stick with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
have to go
the
too
best way.
detailed.
That's the best way I can put it.
Yeah.
Because you'd have guys who were petroleum operators
Yeah.
that are working as weapon security
Yeah.
when they're overseas. Nothing to do with each other.
Were you ever part of any firefights or anything like that?
Did I say unfortunately? Fortunately not.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
I as much as we like to, I feel like as much as we like to
Experience it.
experience it,
Yeah. But
I feel like
listen,
it's
if
gonna,
it's preventable, if it's
Yeah.
you can prevent it, absolutely. You know.
yeah,
There's no need for it.
There's no need for it. Absolutely. So
yeah.
you're
But
fortunate enough not to have to experience that.
it's also yeah, it's very difficult to explain, isn't it? Because you can only experience it if it happened.
Right.
But because I wasn't also in a combat role, I was a support role.
Right.
I feel like people who joined infantry or any sort of combat roles would have a different experience or opinion
sure.
on that,
Sure.
And I guarantee those who have been in combat would also have a different experience, different opinion on that as well.
How was it? Let's just call it what it is. How was it being the Vietnamese guy in the Australian military? Was there any racism that you felt against you at all?
Not directly.
Sure.
So I haven't experienced any direct racism.
Yeah.
Um,
Could you imagine him rocking up? You know.
but again, I think the military is a lot better now when it comes to diversity.
Right.
I feel like when I enlisted, that's when a lot more diverse people have joined. But from the stories that I've heard, it wasn't like that at about 10, 15 years ago.
Well, just on that note, I had a Vietnamese friend when I was studying. He was in the Army Reserves.
Yeah.
And he had a hell of a time, poor guy.
Oh,
the names
wow.
that they used to call him.
Oh,
I go, man,
wow.
how do you put up with that? He goes, I just do. But you know what? He was resilient, and I take my hat off to him. He's a top guy. He was Vietnamese, serving his country. But it was just a shame to hear what he went through at times. So I'm so happy to hear that we've grown from that. We've moved on from that because really, one country. We're all the same people.
It's multicultural.
We're all the same
country,
people.
for sure.
So I'm really kind of stoked to hear that you've said that we've moved on from that.
Yeah.
I don't deny the fact that there may be
For sure.
racism happening.
Listen, just in my local sports
Yeah,
clubs.
it happens
Yeah.
everywhere.
These teams and that team, if there's more of one culture on the other team, it happens.
And that's people having insecurities too.
Yeah.
And you can't let it get to you. I mean, you
Yeah.
need to be comfortable with who you are and what you represent.
Yeah.
Look, even as, for example, we're Christians, right? And, we've made the choice to refrain from drinking alcohol. Go and see how that's received within our own community. They can't accept that. Or why you've become this, why you become that. Hey, we're cool with it. We're all right. We're comfortable with who we are, all right? But some people will always have an issue. And I bring it down to this. It's because you're insecure. Hurting people will hurt people.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
for sure.
So you just look over it.
And so that's so what made you then sort of come to a point where, okay, I need to go back home now. I need to wrap it up. What brought you to that point?
Or can you leave whenever you want?
So you do have a contract. So depending on the role that you picked, you may have a 1-year contract, a 4-year contract, which was the
Right,
most
okay.
common,
Gotcha.
or some cases 7 to 14 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then you can't break your contract.
You can, but you have to pay
Pay
back. Yes.
What do you mean paid back? Money?
Money, yes. Because
Wow.
because
They've invested in you.
correct. So the amount of years that you serve is basically, you repaying them the amount of investment that they've put in you.
Right.
But see, you told us you left 3 years and 8 months into it. Did you have a 4-year contract?
I had a 2-year contract.
So you could have left any time after that.
Yep.
Gotcha.
That's how it works.
Gotcha. You're on a casual.
Yeah, because I feel like a 4-year period of service is the sweet spot.
Yeah.
It's enough for you to go. I've had
gain this experience.
enough exposures. Because I think 2 years is kind of 2 years. You're still in your beginners period. Like it's too soon to leave.
Mm.
Yeah, good call.
So,
Good call.
and my career didn't really peak until my third year,
Right.
which was when my deployment happened.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, like 'cause you when you deploy or when you are chosen for deployment, you're being handpicked.
Yeah,
You
gotcha.
know, you have to be assessed once
Yeah.
more on your physical, your mental, your everything before you are sent overseas.
And when you were sent that 7 months, were you 7 months away from home? Like 7 months deployed there?
We
And-
were 7 months overseas. Yeah.
Oh, wow, there you go.
Yeah.
And so let's go back. What brought you to that point where I'm going to wrap it up? What was that?
I felt like I just
What led you to that decision?
well, and a part of it was I've done my time. I've done very close to the end of my service.
Yeah.
But second, there was a period that I feel like I wasn't appreciated enough
Gotcha.
for the effort that I put in.
Right.
Because I was not only a storeman, I was also what is called a combat fitness leader, which is basically you run PT for your unit, and I feel like that role took over the role that I initially applied for.
Right. So you were known as the PT guy.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So
And that's not what you wanted?
I'm happy to do it, but I
Yeah.
feel like a lack of appreciation is what sort of driven me.
Well, you
So
look-
it was your time to leave for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. You weren't going to progress any further than that. It was limiting you. Do you think it was limiting you?
I feel like that was limiting me from
Yeah.
progressing further.
Yeah, gotcha.
So I felt like maybe there are better things to do.
Sure.
You know.
And what was the process going from, okay, I think I'm going to wrap it up. Who do you speak to and what's the process of exiting?
So there was the form. So we all have web forms
Yeah.
in the military. So I fill in the web form and I submit it to my chain of command. And when it comes to processing forms, it takes a long time because it goes from your unit to Canberra,
Right.
then back,
Right.
right? Canberra is where everything gets processed, everything
Right.
gets done.
That's a big Uber ride.
Oh yes, yeah,
I thought with email these days it's instant, but anyway.
yeah. So you're waiting for months.
Yeah.
I left in October 2020. I put in the form in May. Was it May or February?
Oh, wow, that's a long time.
Right. So it's like 6 months or so.
It was a 6 months. Yeah.
Right. There you go.
So and even when you're in the process of discharging, you're still not off the hook. You're still, in the military. So you're still doing military things.
Mm.
Your mind might have
Left. Yeah.
but every single day that you're still in there, you're still a soldier and you're still doing
wow.
things, right? So
That's the exit. Was mum and dad happy when you said, I'm coming home? Was it a phone call? What was that like?
mum was happy because
You didn't die.
especially
Straight up.
especially when she heard that I'll be going to the Middle East.
Right.
Mum
She was happy? Or not happy?
Mum and dad was freaking out when
of
they
course.
heard the word Middle East.
Gotcha, of course.
Before I could say, hang
Right,
on, it's not
right.
a combat role, it's not a combat
Yeah.
environment. But Mum especially, because every time she received a phone call, like a private number, all she could think was the worst.
Of course.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
how'd you tell her? Over the phone? Through Snapchat? No, I'm just joking.
No, it was over the phone. Yeah,
Yeah,
I was like, Mum,
Yeah.
what do you think about me going overseas for 7 months?
Yeah.
And she knew. She was like, "Is this a deployment?" I was like, "Yeah."
Yeah.
Where? It starts with M and ends with Middle East.
Yeah.
Long and behold,
And
he's
she-
going to a tourist destination,
Yeah.
shopping, in Dubai.
So she was upset about that. What about the phone call when you said, I'm coming home or I'm done?
Mum was surprisingly, she was like really so soon.
Oh, right.
Yeah, like she was quite.
She got conditioned to you being nearly away for 3.5 years or 4 years, something like that.
Yeah, yeah. I do come home here and there. Like I do take leave here and there.
Got it.
But it's like once every 9 months.
Yep.
Once every
wow.
yeah.
Yeah.
And because I was also in Queensland, the base that I was in Queensland. So flying back and forth.
What an experience.
Yeah, yeah. I also had a lot of chances to travel across Australia. I've been to all the states except for South Australia and Tasmania.
Right.
Simply because of certain tasking that you might be required to do, and Army flies you there.
Yeah.
It's their money.
So they move you around.
They move you around. Yeah.
Well, that's a good experience.
Very good experience. Like I don't deny all of the great experience
Yeah.
that the Army provided for me.
Excellent. So is it would you recommend anybody else joining it, or depends on the person? What would you say to someone thinking about joining the military?
Very difficult for me to answer this question because again I haven't been in long enough to fully understand what it's like.
Yeah.
But
just through your experience.
But through my experience, I would recommend for someone who doesn't know what they want to do in life, but do want something that is
meaningful
and challenging. Definitely,
Right.
it doesn't have to be Army. It doesn't have to be Army. It
What?
doesn't have to be Army. It can be Air Force.
Right.
It can be Navy.
Yeah.
But defense, it's great as a starter.
Yeah. Right.
That's good advice.
And you can get in and out in 4 years, or
Yeah,
you can do a
4 years,
small
depending
deployment.
on the contract. So that's the one thing that I also recommend anyone who's looking to join is to do as much research as you can in the role that you're applying for, and also the lifestyle, because that's the one thing that we can't complain about once we're in. Like there are certain days where, because in Army we have exercises, field exercises, where we get out into the field for the longest I've been there was 2 months, but others have been for 3 months, where you're literally living out in the open.
Wow.
In the jungle.
Yeah. Right.
Right, where you're susceptible to snakes and insects and
what an experience.
So that's the one thing that I feel like have changed my viewpoint about life is how much do I need to be happy? Because when you're outfield freezing,
so it makes you more content, is what you're saying.
yeah.
And it's good to see it's had a positive outlook on your life.
Yeah, and every time that I'm out, in the cold, freezing at about 1 o'clock in the morning,
You want to pull out a poncho.
all I could think of was, I just want a mattress.
Yeah. Okay.
I like all of the things that I have taken for granted prior to
Wow.
that moment.
Yep.
I wanted them.
Wow.
And every time, every time that I'm faced with that condition, I thought back, I just want a mattress.
Yeah.
I'm
right.
happy with, a hot cup of tea.
Yeah. Content with the simple things in life, and obviously that's where the real joy is, with the simple things in life, for sure. Yeah, it's good. I'm glad you came through to share your experiences. What experience, thanks for being brave enough to be serving in the military and things like that. I think it was great to shed a light on your experience, and I hope someone can benefit or get something out of that shared experience. Yeah, thanks, man. Thanks for coming on. Really appreciate it,
your
man.
time,
Thanks for having me.
Gia.
Yeah,
Thanks
you're
for
a
having
gentleman,
me.
mate. Gentleman. Thanks so much.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Cool. That was easy.
That was easy. That was good.